much for this generous introduction. Professor Satpathy, Professor Mariappan, Dr. Pratap Jena, and distinguished faculty of Schools of Public Health at the KITS University. It is indeed my pleasure to be part of this faculty development program and share with all of you some thoughts in the context of health professional education in the 21st century. Faculty development program has been always close to my heart, and I firmly believe that such organization would really contribute the development of our faculty members and equip them with new knowledge and skills in advancing the educational agenda for our institutes. And therefore, at the outset, I would like to express my gratitude to Professor Satpathy for organizing such a program, also inviting me to be part of this important program. What I'm going to do next 35 minutes is talk to you about health professional education in 21st century, because we all are aware that we are confronted with several public health challenges in the 21st century, and how health professional education can be positioned to respond to these challenges needs to be pondered. But simultaneously, we also understand that there has been a lot of advancement in educational technology. And in fact, the technology itself has improved. And therefore, it is important to understand all of us that how do we position health professional education in the 21st century? What I'm going to do is talk to you on this important issue, but I wanted to set the context of this deliberation that I would decipher and contextualize the global perspective of health professional education. I will ponder on some of the initiatives in last couple of decades or so, what is happening globally, and how do we contextualize that to Indian scenario. But as being requested by Professor Satpathy, I would also mostly focus on public health and hospital management education. Although we talk broadly about health professional education, but the focus would be more on public health and hospital management education. And we'll deliberate on necessary reforms for 21st century so that we can advance the reforms agenda for the health professional education. Let me begin this deliberation with the remarks related to the Lancet Commission. Some of you are aware that exactly 10 years back in 2010, the Commission on Education of Health Professionals for the 21st Century was constituted with the intent of landscaping the field, identifying the gaps and opportunities, providing them the recommendations for the reforms using three important approaches: multi-professional perspective, systems approach, and pondering on linkages between education and health systems. So this commission deliberated on related aspects. It tells us that in the previous century beginning, there were three important reports: the Flexner report, which was related to the medical education; Welch and Rose report, which was related to public health education; and the Goldmark report, which was related to the nursing education, has influenced the education in the previous century, in the 20th century. Because these three reports came at the beginning of the 20th century and provided guidance for the reforms in medical, public health, and nursing education in the previous century. There were three important facts that I would like to mention as a contribution of these reports. These reports and in the subsequent studies that were carried out had sparked groundbreaking reforms in the context of education for health professionals. They linked the science with the curriculum at university-based schools. The whole emphasis was brought on the science. And therefore, the century, that is the 20th century, witnessed a doubling of lifespan. And there are reports which significantly attribute reforms in health professional education contributing to the advancement in the knowledge of medicine, public health, and nursing has resulted in improving the life expectancy of the people in 20th century. But that was the story of 20th century. At the beginning of the 21st century, where do we stand today? This report tells us that, and why only this report? There are many other studies in the context of health professional education tells us that health professional education has not kept pace with the 21st century challenges. And the situation that has been reflected and reported is in the context of fragmented and outdated static curricula. The way that the curricula should have evolved has not evolved. There is also a mention of mismatch of competencies to the patient and population needs. At times, what we teach to our students, medical students, nursing students, public health students, and what are the requirements of the systems, there is a mismatch. There's much more an individualized approach than the teamwork that is, which is critical for to work in the health systems. At times, there is a very narrow technical focus without a broader contextual understanding of the health challenges, and episodic encounters rather than the continuum of the care that we generally thought is critical and important. There is much more predominant hospital orientation at the expense of the primary care, and has contributed and resulted into a production of ill-equipped graduates and quantitative and qualitative imbalances in the professional labor market, like the shortage of health professionals that we will talk about, and even the quality of the graduates that we produce are said that on one hand, we say that there is unemployment, but on another hand, there is also thinking that whether graduates are employable or not, and the weak leadership to improve the health system's performance. So related to the health professional education, these are some of the issues that have been identified. And therefore, what is required is a thorough and authoritative re-examination of health professional education, matching the ambitious work of a century ago, where I talked about those 3 reports. But in last 2 decades or so, in this century only, there have been a lot of initiatives related to advancement of the health professional education have been taken up. I mentioned one of them as the Lancet Commission recommendations, but World Health Organization, then the Global Health Workforce Alliance, the future of nursing, then the focus of WHO on how do we transform and scale up the health professional education, then the Institute of Medicine initiative related to building the health workforce capacity through community-based and health professional education, and then the Global Forum on Human Resources for Health in collaboration with WHO also came out with the HRH requirements, which is necessary and as an important foundation for the health coverage for the post-2015 development agenda related to the universal health coverage. So there were several initiatives in last few years or so we have seen and provided several recommendations for the reforms in health professional education for the 21st century. If you summarize the findings of all these reports together, what emerges is that the health professional education has not kept pace with the challenges of the 21st century. They also reflected on disconnect between the needs of the health system in the context of the labor market and health professional education. Several of these reports have recommended redesigning and re-articulating new institutional and instructional strategies. The focus has been brought on competency-driven curriculum. Several of these reports also strongly recommended interprofessional and transprofessional education, emphasis on community and industry-based teaching and learning, focus on transformative learning, and also emphasized need for reforms in health professional education. So this is briefly the summary of variety of these reports that had come out in last 2 decades or so. But then how do we do that? Because describing the problem is one thing, but identifying solutions and furthering those solutions to improve our health professional education is important on another hand. Let's talk about the reforms that are required. Generally, when you talk about educational reforms related to health professional education, we can see that there are 3 generations of educational reforms. At the beginning of the 19th century, which I talked about those 3 reports, they recommended science-based reforms. Around 1960s, 70s, we had problem-based approach. And now at the beginning of this 21st century, it is recommended systems-based approach. And on the left side, you can see that in blue color, we talk about institutional reforms that are happening. And in yellow color, we present you the instructional reforms. And we move from scientific curriculum to problem-based learning to competency-driven approaches. And in university-based to academic centers to health education system interface as the reforms which are recommended as the 3rd generation reforms in health professional education. This is an important diagram. Let's talk about how do we build this interface between the education system and health systems. Let's begin with the population, because the population should be at the center stage of any reform that we talk about. From the population, the needs related to the health systems do emerge, that there are population needs that we need to provide the healthcare. These needs get translated into the demand. The population then demand health services. And as a part of health system, we need to provide those health services. How do we provide those health services? Then therefore we need and demand for the health workforce, because we need people to provide those health services. The same population in the context of health systems also generates the need and then finally demand and provision of the supply of the health workforce. And at the center, then you have a labor market for the health professionals. On one hand, through education system, we provide health professionals on the demand of the health system, provide the health services to the population. And when I say health services to the population, please do not think on the lines of only clinical services. Public health services also are the part of the health services. Programs, public health programs, policy, they are also integral part of this whole labor market scenario that we talk about. Therefore, we can say that to have a positive effect on the health outcomes, which we all are interested in, the professional education subsystem, therefore, needs to design and articulate new instructional and institutional strategies. What is that institutional design that we talk about? At systemic level, we talk about stewardship and governance, financing, resources, service provision. But at the organizational level, we talk about ownership, affiliation, and internal structures for any health professional institution. Of course, at the global level also, we need stewardship and network and partnerships. As an instructional design, we talk about 4 C's, criteria for admission, like for example, opening up public health education for the graduates of multidisciplinary background, which is the need of the hour. Competency-driven programs. Channels means the way the teaching, learning methodologies and pedagogies that we use. And finally, also relate that to the career pathways. And if we bring that institutional and instructional designs together, we will be able to have interdependence in education and bring the agenda of transformative learning. So the instructional reforms contributes to the transformative learning, and I will explain you what transformative learning is all about. And institutional reform that we talked 30 seconds back contributes to interdependence in education. If we align this transformative learning and interdependence in education, then probably we will be able to ensure the equity in health. But what does it mean, transformative learning? Why we are saying that we should more focus and bring emphasis on transformative learning? There are three levels of learning: informative learning, formative learning, and transformative learning. Informative learning means transfer of information and skills that would produce experts. The formative learning is one step further forward to the informative learning, which focuses on socializing values, ethics, and morals, in addition to the transfer of information and skills. And that would produce professionals. So we have to go further step forward. We don't want only experts, but we want professionals who would value public health, who would talk about the ethics in public health. But further forward, transformative learning is a step further forward, which talks about, in addition to all these attributes, leadership attributes, which would create enlightened change agents. So the graduates that we produce should not only be the experts and professionals, but they should become the change agents, full of passion to work in public health, to bring change in the health system, to bring change and contribute to the population health. And for that, therefore, our whole educational program should be designed in such a way that we bring those leadership attributes at the center stage. And this is being thought about as a fundamental driver for the health professional education reforms for the 21st century. So there are three important fundamental shifts are necessary for transformative learning. We have to shift from the fact memorization to searching, analyzing, and synthesizing the information for decision making. You know that several of us who are senior colleagues here would remember that as a part of our education, the more emphasis is on remembering things, fact memorization. But we know there is a tremendous change of information. Knowledge is changing so rapidly. We'll have to change the focus to searching, analyzing, and synthesizing information for decision-making purposes. From seeking professional credentials to achieving core competencies, saying that I'm an MPH graduate or MHA graduate or a PhD, that is important. But those are professional credentials. But even if you are MPH, what you can do, what are the core competencies you have is more important. From non-critical adoption of educational models to creative adoption of global resources is relevant and important. In terms of interdependence in education, I would like to bring on three fundamental shifts: from isolated to harmonized education and health systems. We should not think of education and health systems in isolation. From standalone institutions to networks, alliances, and consortia. We have different schools of public health. They need to join hands together. We have like networks like India FLINDET, India Public Health Education Institutions Network, where US School of Public Health at SKITS is a part of that. CFAIN is there network with the Southeast Asia Public Health Education Institution Network. Professor Satwari is very actively involved in that network. We have Tata Institute of Social Sciences also part of the both India FAIN and CFAIN also. We have to join hands together. Inward-looking institutional preoccupations to harnessing global flow of educational contents and teaching resources is required in interdependence in education. If we take care of both transformative education and interdependence in education, we will be able to advance the agenda of equity in health. So the health professional education in India is at crossroads. We need to find solutions to problems through the reforms agenda. What are the challenges that we are confronted with? And when I say health professional education, it includes public health education, management education, also the medical and nursing and allied health professionals. There are governance issues. Even today for public health, we don't have any council for that matter, like the medical council or the nursing council. We need to design and develop innovative programs in public health. MPH and MHA programs are important, but I think we need to have more specialized programs focus on, like, for example, policy, or like program like social epidemiology that the TEAS offers. Then we have programs like health economics, financing, newer paradigms, limited opportunities for doctoral programs. We still, the COVID-19 has provided an opportunity to tap the potential of e-learning. Our programs need to be transformed as competency-driven curriculum. We have to emphasize on teaching learning skills, transdisciplinary approaches. The faculty members needs to be not only from the content point of view and their credentials point of view, but equip the tools and techniques of teaching learning skills, and therefore these faculty development programs like are very useful. Connect between health systems, partnerships and collaborations are very important. Time has gone that to work in isolation and in silos. Our quality of our program and product is important. Employability of our graduates is critical. Accreditation, career pathways, we need to create evidence for action also, and excellence in education. So these are certain challenges, and for each box, we have to ponder and tick that how do we respond to these challenges. Dr. Shashi Tharoor tells in the context of higher education, but that is also applicable to the health professional education. He mentions 4 E's: expansion, equity, excellence, and employability are important. And let's ponder on these 4 E's in the context of our public health education and health professional education. Expansion. We are a big country. We have population of around 1.37 billion people live in the country. We are amazingly young nation. Our 35% population, our 65% population is less than 35 years of age. Our 50% population is less than 25 years of age. Our average age is 29 years as compared to what is in Europe is 46 years, China more than 40 years, Japan 47 years. So we are amazingly young nation. If we wanted to really cash on this demographic dividend, we will have to systematically invest in our education through expansion. Our need and demand, not only from national, but global perspective also. We'll have to also ponder on what are those 21st century new jobs that will be created. This busy slide tells you the HRH density in India. And I just wanted to mention, because in expansion context, why we need to expand for health professional education. I wanted to mention that considering all allopathic doctors and nurses and midwives, that is a skilled health workforce that the government or WHO considers, we have that density at 16.7 per 10,000 population. If you include Ayush professionals, that is 20.4 per 10,000 population. And what is the WHO minimum threshold? That is 22.8 10,000 population per 10,000 population. And what is being required as a part of the Sustainable Development Goals is 44.5 per 10,000 population. The point I'm just making is that we have tremendous shortage of health workforce in India and globally also. On the left side, you can see the supply side that we have 7,75,000 seats available in variety of the health professional programs in India, but they are unevenly distributed. And more serious question is about the quality of our education. Although we talk about the production, but the quality that we produce is also questionable in the country. And therefore, not only the quantity is important, we will also have to ponder on quality of our graduates. Now, because we have a public health professionals and you all work in School of Public Health, I wanted to present this slide to you where it tells that this is recently updated last month only. We have around 8,000 seats intake capacity for various public health programs. This is annual intake capacity for various public health programs in India, which includes MD and Diploma in Public Health programs which are offered through medical colleges, but MHA and other programs, and then MPH programs, epidemiology, health management, administration, all programs together. So we have intake capacity of 8,000. But I wanted to mention that there are no standard benchmarks for requirement of public health professionals. But what Brazil says is that they need 100 public health professionals per 100,000 population. Association of Schools of Public Health tells us that they need 220 public health professionals per 100,000 population. But in India, we have only 11 public health professionals per 100,000 population. With that benchmark, we have tremendous shortage of public health professionals. What about health management professionals, hospital management professionals? Our production capacity is around 7,000 that we talk about is an intake capacity. But when we looked at some of the work that my colleague had done, our requirement is close to 45,000 health management professionals that would be required by 2030. In India, there are 0.72 health management professionals per 100,000 population, which is far below the benchmark that has been recommended as 2.97 health management professionals per 100,000 management populations that we have. Our national health policy has strongly recommended public health management cadre, but it is moving in some states, like for example, in Odisha, I am aware that there is a movement on public health cadre, but there are several states which are still lacking in the national health policy recommendations being implemented. Equity is issue. Just a minute. Equity is also issue that we would find is reflected as a part of the health professional education is concerned. As a part of excellence, we talk about the quality, but I wanted to mention that we have few good institutions as are islands of excellence floating on a sea of mediocrity. Several institutions, the quality remains a question mark for all of us. Employability. I wanted to quote this quote very briefly, and it is in the higher education context. What the gentleman tells us is, our education system all over the world, frankly, is broken. We are graduating students from universities and they don't get jobs. There are lots of jobs available, but the employers tells us that there is the skill gap. So you wonder, what are we doing as universities? I think we do a good job, but still students are not getting jobs from many universities. Imagine if we create a new university that was able to not only educate students for the rest of their lives, but also enable them to get jobs. A cutting edge university that was fast moving and kept pace with the latest technologies, latest in terms of where the jobs are. Imagine a university that was working with employers, looking at what the needs of employers are and trying to create curricula that was thoughtful about where the jobs are. We have to prepare the students for the jobs which do not exist today. You know that things are so rapidly changing in 21st century. Probably 20 years down the line, 30 years down the line, there will be jobs for which we are not aware about. For example, 20, 30 years back, when probably Professor Satyakant Satpathy and I studied, jobs in data analytics were not thought about. But now for public health professionals, the jobs are also available in data analytics. Jobs, in fact, in the context of scientific writing are available. Systematic review and meta-analysis are available. Health financing, health economics, very specialized jobs are available. And therefore, we have to prepare our students for their future, not our past. And therefore, if we teach today as we taught yesterday, we rob our students of tomorrow, what this is John Davy has tells us about. We need to do the mapping of public health jobs in India. Where can the public health graduates can be employed? We also need to understand what are the career opportunities and career pathways available for these graduates. And also need to understand what are the employers' perspective. What we produce as an education system and what they need needs to be matched and needs to be aligned with. I also wanted to re-emphasize networks and collaborations. The time has gone that we work in isolation. There are networks like, for example, CFEN network that I mentioned. Another network. CRM is another network of medical education institutions. The network of professional councils, the IndiaFEN that I mentioned to you. But collaborative efforts are necessary for all of us. Distance education needs to be explored, because if we wanted to scale up our education, and this COVID 2019 opportunity is there that has taught us, and Professor Satpathy also mentioned in his opening remarks that e-learning is going to stay, and we need to see that how we leverage e-learning for educating large proportion of our health professionals. Curriculum and competencies needs to be revisited by engaging with the key stakeholders from the health system. We need transdisciplinary approaches. We need to have the frameworks which are critical and important from the perspective of both core and cross-cutting competencies. It is very rightly said, if you don't know where you are going, any road will get you there. Content and focus of our academic programs. We need to bring poor response to the newer paradigms is there. Community-based education is important. And therefore, this competency-based education model, as compared to the traditional model, needs to be revisited, where health needs and health systems is at center stage. And arising out of that are the competencies and outcomes. will help us to design the curriculum and will also facilitate the assessment for the purpose. And therefore, the skills that we talk about are important. Like for the graduates, the cost-cutting skills like negotiating, decision-making, motivation, problem-solving, honesty and integrity, communication, listening, planning, all these are important in addition to what we teach, like in epidemiology or health management or social and behavioral sciences, environmental health, occupational health. Those technical skills are, of course, critical and important. But in addition to that, all these skills are important and relevant. And therefore, when we mention about 21st century, we have to also talk about 21st century competencies like communication skills, critical thinking, collaboration, creativity, problem solving, leadership, decision making, self-reflection, being proactive, thinking outside the box. So we have to see that how do we integrate all these competencies as a part of our educational program. Indra Nooyi's 5C model is applicable to the health professional education also. She talks about competencies, courage and confidence, communication skills, consistency, and compass. That is very much applicable to the health professional education also. Our own 12th five-year plan a decade ago emphasized public health education must be developed as a multidisciplinary, health systems connected, problem solving professional course and be open to both physicians and non-physicians, expanding capacity of examination, certification, and accreditation bodies is important. Of course, we must invest in faculty. We talked about this. There are faculty recruitment challenges, both in terms of quantity and quality. We need well-trained faculty members, and therefore faculty development programs like the program being currently organized are useful. We also need role models. Faculty resource sharing is important. All our institutions needs to join hands. It is not somebody, some case study that has been developed by one institute should be shared with another institution. Building partnerships are important. We have to systematically invest in our faculty from the perspective of teaching learning skills. And we need multidisciplinary faculty for public health education. And all these skills are important in the context of teaching learning techniques that you can see. There are a variety of the teaching learning tools that one can use. Some of them are non-IT enabled techniques like traditional methods that we all talk about: lectures, workshops, seminar, group discussions, critical appraisals, then internships, counseling, collaboration, practicum, mentoring, project work. But non-IT enabled techniques, but there are new techniques like problem-based learning, buzz groups, brainstorming, simulations and games, role play, then team-based learning, project-based learning. We have to see that how do we adapt and bring these newer techniques into our regular teaching learning process. IT enabled techniques, now flipped classrooms, simulated activities, real life data analysis, learning management systems, then online education, blended learning programs, how to use Twitter and social media and Facebook for teaching purposes. Our younger generation is very much familiar with the social media, very much familiar and very much prone to IT applications. And we will have to reorganize ourselves. We have to rethink that how do we bring all these reforms in terms of our teaching and learning in our education. And I quote this 30-70 paradox. What we teach and way we teach is important. If 30% of what we teach is redundant, then 70% of way we teach is redundant. So the content and curriculum point of view, I agree that there is a scope of improvement, but the way we teach definitely needs greater improvement. If it is that 30% of redundancy in what we teach, then 70% is the redundancy, the way we teach. And therefore, we have to see that how do we adapt the learning technique skills, learning and teaching technique skills in our day-to-day teaching programs. We have to also inculcate and promote the habit of reading beyond curriculum. The current students that we are encountering with, the habit of reading has lost. And the scholarship, the wisdom that would come reading beyond public health. You can be a better public health professional if you continue to read books beyond public health. And therefore, how do we bring this into as a part of our programs is important. Health professional education is beyond classroom. Studying isn't all about lectures and long hours in classrooms. Community industry interface, knowledge driven to practice oriented, classroom to community. And we will have to redefine our community. It's not only the population in the community, but health systems, public health organizations, public health laboratories, industrial sites. These are all important, and how we expose our students remains important, because we all learned what you hear, you forget. What you see, you remember, and what you do, you understand. And education cannot be taught in isolation. It has to align with the research agenda of the university and institution, where we all know that our institutions, our public health schools, our universities are now getting slowly transformed as a research-driven institutions and universities. All of these rankings, including national institutions ranking framework, emphasizes on research. So research and education goes in hand in hand. What we do in research, we also bring into the classrooms. The case studies can be developed from the research engagements and activities, and therefore there has to be systematic, strategic, and conscious efforts, not only to invest in research, but align that with our education programs also. Accreditation is another area. Lancet Commission also given recommendations like accreditation is central to the professional education institutions, linking their instructional activities to the societal purpose that we all recognize. This report, which we have, the WHO World Health Report in 2006, also talks about that the accreditation for the public health programs is important and relevant and timely. And accreditation guidelines for education and training institutions and programs in public health also are being framed. This accreditation also is an effort towards ensuring quality of our product and programs and institutes thereby. So therefore, from that perspective, we have to see that 21st century higher education, and these are all important, research-driven universities, keeping pace with the latest technology, instant feedback to the student, competency-driven curriculum, on-learning technology, alumni networks, that how do we leverage them? What are the needs of employers? Labor market analysis, revolutionary 21st century ideas, what our students think, the way they think. We need to understand the way our students think, make students better learners, quality of our graduates, world rankings, transdisciplinary approaches, collaborations and networking, islands of excellence, financing of higher education, new ways of thinking, new ways of learning. All these are the keywords that of 21st century higher education will have to see that how do we align our own public health education, management education, those words. And this is the last slide that I want to mention. Public health education that is irrelevant to national health priorities and diverse from our public health practice is useless and constitutes a lost opportunity. Thank you for this opportunity that I ran through some of the presentations, some of the slides, paucity of the time, but I will share this presentation with all of you so that you can ponder subsequently on these issues.